Kurt Vonnegut's dark humor and innovative narrative paved the way for a new form of contemporary literature. His influential works include such modern classics as Cat's Cradle and Slaughterhouse-Five. Though it is not often that his works make their way to the big screen, his 1961 novel, Mother Night, was recently adapted to film. It stars Nick Nolte as the American playwright turned spy in World War II Germany. And I'm pleased to have Kurt Vonnegut back at this table. Welcome back, sir.
Hooray.
Tell me about Mother Night and why it took him so long to make it into a movie.
Well, what it says in the posters, Nick Nolte is in full Nazi gear, is from Kurt Vonnegut's bestseller. Well, it was a paperback original, which was never reviewed.
So was it a bestseller or not?
Well, I don't know. It was never reviewed, but it remained in print. And
I bet you everything of yours is in print, right?
Yes, and I'm very fortunate that way. So I don't really care what movie they make of any book of mine, because the book itself is still available. People can see what I did.
Which sells the most? Slaughterhouse-Five? Which sells the most?
I think they sell about the same as the, I really don't keep track like I should. But about Mother Night, I got $3,000 for it when I needed the money. And I got the idea at a cocktail party on Cape Cod. I used to live on the Cape. I lived there for 20 years. And I met a spy master who had been a spy master during the Second World War. And he was complaining about spy films, that they made no sense. He said, anytime you have an agent inside an enemy country, this is a very sick person you are dealing with. It's quite possible the person is schizophrenic.
I don't understand. Why did he say that? Because in order to do something that's stupid, because you might be risking your life at any moment?
It is so terrifying.
Yeah, okay.
And it's it's unbelievably risky. It's only a nut would do it.
You've got to be living two lives at the same time.
And he says, also, you've got to understand that your agent is going to help the enemy as much as he helps you. And all you can hope for is that from him you will get information you wouldn't get otherwise. And so I said, all right, let's have an American who grew up in Germany because his father worked for the General Electric Company and was over there representing GE in Berlin. Became fluent in German, became a playwright in German, married a German actress. And about 1938, he's sitting on a park bench, and a guy sits down next to him, an American, and starts chatting. And this guy's from the War Department, and says, you know, if war comes, we'd like you to stay. So Nolte does. This is John Goodman, who does a beautiful job of recruiting him. And he also says to him, you know, we can't acknowledge you probably ever. And Nolte stays because he's in love with this actress he's married to. He says they're a nation of two and they don't care anything about politics. In order to survive, he out-Nazis the Nazis and becomes a broadcaster, like Lord Haw Haw. The British actually had a treacherous citizen who broadcast for the Nazis, Lord Haw Haw, and he was hanged by the British after the war for treason. So I said, all right, suppose an American does this. And so Nolte does it, and does survive, but what he's done to survive is absolutely hateful. He's delivered these anti-Semitic speeches. Those in the movie are actually Joseph Goebbels' anti-Semitic
So you actually took Goebbels' anti-Semitic speeches and had Nolte.
Yeah, and had Nolte, and he ends each broadcast. This is Howard W. Camel Jr., the last free American broadcasting from Berlin. And Nolte, in order to survive, has done a hell of a lot of harm and realizes it, and eventually turns himself into the Israelis for trial. what the moral of the story is, people should read the book, incidentally.
Yeah. It's a good idea.
The moral of the story, which I say didactically, is we are what we pretend to be, so we must be careful what we pretend to be. And on a much more trivial level, I've known people in advertising or public relations or publicity or whatever representing terrible clients, dictators or whatever, but what they're able to say to themselves is, this wasn't really me.
Yeah.
The real me is inside. And all Germany.
I may be doing the dictator's bidding, but it's not me.
Yeah, and everybody knows who I really am and how I feel, but all of Germany, as people my age who were in World War II, are saying one way or another, that wasn't really me. I'm the person who loves children and flowers and music. And there are a hell of a lot of people all over the world who've been involved in atrocities who are saying, well, it wasn't really me. You know what the real me is.
It was a system.
Yeah.
All right, let me take a look at this clip. This is when the recruitment of Howard Campbell, played by Nick Nolte. Take a look. Here it is. So why does Campbell do it? Not just because he loves his wife and wants to stay in Germany.
He is in theater.
Yeah.
For one thing, in the book, he says at one point, he's a ham. And
this is an irresistible challenge of life and death.
Well, of course, actors are alive only on stage.
Yeah.
And pretending to be a Nazi, he is on stage and getting away with it. That's what every actor wants to do, is get away with it.
Are writers only alive when they're writing? Are you only alive when you're putting pen to paper?
I have talked to different sorts of artists about when the payoff is what the thrill is. And a painter, for instance, loves to lay on paint.
Tactile.
Yeah, and hates the gallery opening and saying hello and the wine and cheese and all that.
Yeah.
An architect gets his thrill when he sees a model of the building or a rendering of it. Mm-hmm. It's a nightmare when the thing has to actually be built. A writer gets his kick, and it doesn't last very long, is taking a manuscript and handing it to an editor and saying, here, this is yours, to get relieved of that burden. Yeah, but I certainly don't enjoy writing much now.
You don't?
Well, I don't think many writers do. We had a dinner party one time with a bunch of writers, and they were all saying how comfortable it is to write and what a lousy job it is. And one person said, I just love it. And he or she was the only person there who wasn't a very good writer.
I was going to say that. Was that the least accomplished among you?
Yeah.
Now, what does that say? I mean, that to do it well is painful and hard, and to go through it?
Well, you have to be good. It's like golf. And everything is your own fault, is whatever happens. And if you write a lot.
Well, the golfers dream that they get better, somehow. And one shot in one round will bring them back for another 18.
Yes. Well, but writers have the problem of growing old. And critics seem to be very unsympathetic about this. But as an actuarial matter, American male writers have done their best work by the time they're 55. And then it's pretty junky after that. And this is true of Mark Twain, surely. It's true of me.
It's true of Kurt Vonnegut.
It's true of Kurt Vonnegut.
Everything you did, what was a year for you?
Well,
you haven't done anything since you were 55 that was anywhere near comparable to what you did before you were 55.
No. And we just all grow old, and we have to be a good sport about this. No, I'm not. The older my father got, the dumber he got, and the same thing is happening to me.
You mean just losing brain cells, you think? Or?
Well, of course, is losing everything. But I take our greatest playwright, greater than Eugene O'Neill, which was Tennessee Williams. And toward the end, you know, the critics were wondering what the hell had happened to him, you know, that he wasn't writing the way he used to. And of course the problem is he grew old. I broke his heart one time when I first met him. I thanked him profusely for The Glass Menagerie, which he had written
20 years, yeah.
20, 30 years
I want to see if we got another clip, because I like that movie a lot. Okay, take a look at this, and then we'll come back to you. This is where Campbell's father-in-law is a Nazi commander, tells him he was an inspiration as a Nazi.
Yeah.
Set that up for me. Is there more to add to that?
No, that's fine.
All right, take a look. Here it is from Mother Night, starring Nick Nolte. Great! I mean, so he's sitting there saying... What else are you working on?
Well, I keep trying to do one more book because I owe one more book contractually to Putnam, and I think I've got it.
Is this Timequake?
Yes. In one book, I forget which, I've graded all my books. I've given myself A+, B-,
All right, you can't.
C.
All right.
I think it's a B-.
It's a B-. Well, then, okay,
Yeah.
let's go through the list then. What'd you give an A to?
Oh, I'd give an A+ to Cat's Cradle.
Oh, sure.
I'd give an A+ to Mother Night. I mean, yeah, to Mother Night,
okay.
you bet, and to Slaughterhouse-Five.
So they get A+, just
Yeah.
3 A+.
This is much better than I ever did in college. And how well did you do?
Well, not that good. I didn't get 3 A+. So what A's, though? Anything? You got an A there?
Well, we got some C's and B's.
And what was a failure?
Well, I said Slapstick was a failure because critics hated it so much, and I figured they knew more about it than I
would never
did.
figure that.
Yeah. But anyway, I would give this a B-, and that's not bad
Timequake
for
is
a
a B-.
guy. Yeah.
You're happy, though.
Well, I'm reasonably
you're pretty.
content. Well, I'm not surprised to have my powers fail. I'm a good sport about it.
Well, I
and
don't think your powers have failed you. It's just that you don't think they're as good as they were at their best when you were at an A+ level.
Also, Herman Melville talks about whalers and why they don't talk.
Why?
They've said absolutely everything they could possibly say.
Well, then Kurt Vonnegut has not said everything he could possibly say.
No, but
He may not be able to say it as well as he...
No, but here my books are all in print, and they're doing the talking for me, and that was essentially the ideas I had.
Not a bad legacy, huh?
I hope.
What novelist inspired you the most?
It's hard to tell, because I don't keep track of that sort of thing, but I grew up in a house full of books.
Yeah.
And if you're a kid and you're into reading, we had a whole set of George Bernard Shaw. And I got hooked on him at an early age, and particularly the prefaces he wrote to each play. Yeah. But I think when I was about 12, I found Aristophanes, and Lysistrata as a dirty play and all that. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun reading, and fortunately was reading really good books.
And it shaped you.
Yes.
Kurt Vonnegut. The film is called Mother Night, as the book is called Mother Night. It got an A+ in the writer's own evaluation of the book, and the movie is getting some good reviews. We'll be right back. Stay with us.